Hey guys, so first I'm going to talk about my workout and then I'm going to start talking about something completely different. But first of all, this is a ladder. So I was doing a bunch of pull ups today and I basically added one rep up until the point where I couldn't do all the reps comfortably with good form. And then I went back to the beginning. So in this case, I started with one, then I did 2 reps, then I did 3, then 4. Then I went back to 1 because I couldn't do like 5. I'm working my way up, and then I did five sets of those, 30 seconds in between each one. And this was a pull day, so I did some low bar squats and then I did deadlifts at the end. So I saw a TikTok today, and it's not just this person, but there's like a whole genre of TikToks where people just like post themselves like crying or being depressed. Healthcare workers, they're either nurses. In this case, this was a med student, and it's always about like, oh, when you see a patient, like a patient die, and it's like very traumatizing and everyone's like really sad. Everyone in the comments is like, offering supports and all that. It's like a genre of TikToks, it's not just this one I saw. I've seen like nurses posting about like their patient dies and like they're crying in it. And it always makes me think about that one quote on Scrubs, the TV show Scrubs. And it's basically Dr. Cox explaining to one of the other characters why physicians, in his case, make jokes about the patients and like distance themselves from the patients just because they can't get too close to the patients or else they wouldn't be able to do their jobs, they have to give the bad news to the family, say everything that happened and how their family member is going to die, stuff like that. And then they have to like go back to work. That's like the job in healthcare. And it's like, oh, do you think like anyone in the family is going to go back to work today? No, that part like always like stuck with me. Like, oh yeah, you have to go back to work. No one in the family is going to go back to work. And I always think about like the worst piece of advice people give in healthcare. The whole, you have to treat every patient like it's your family member, or like it's you. And I just very heavily disagree with that. I think that's terrible advice, because you can't take a patient's suffering and make it your own. That's being very selfish about it. You have to establish clear boundaries with patients, and you have to be able to like not care so much about patient outcomes. Not that you don't want the best for the patients, you obviously do, but you can't be like destroyed. If my sweet grandmother like died in the hospital, I would be destroyed. I wouldn't be able to function, work, let alone like go back to work. I'd be unconsolable. So the idea of just like treating every family member like it's my sweet grandma, like, no, you have to establish those clear boundaries. If I really cared so much, every time like a patient died, I would be destroyed. I'd like be an alcoholic, as I'd have so much trauma and grief. So like in the comment section of that TikTok that I was looking at, it's always just people like, oh, you're like be strong, and it's like a big crying fest, and never like never like any good advice like I'm saying about not I mean, it sounds bad, but not caring so much about the patient outcomes. You can't like live or die off of every like patient. Like, you have to be able to go back to work. And I think that's like some people just like don't realize that. Like they go into healthcare for like all these other reasons, and they don't even think about like, oh yeah, you're gonna see people die, by the way. Like, you have to be able to function. You know, you have to have like a certain level of maturity and I don't want to say grit, but you know, just have a certain I don't know, not composition. You gotta be able to like withstand, you know, being able to see sad stuff and continue to function, you know. And if you like don't want to like see people die, like you don't have to work in healthcare. You know, it's if that's not your thing, then that's like totally fine. There's a million jobs, you know, and the vast majority of them don't involve, you know, seeing people die. So, I was just thinking about that, you know, like we just gotta take away TikTok from certain people in healthcare. Like, making those TikToks is just insane to me, you know. But it does bring up like a good idea for me. Like, if we just made a spin-off, there's this TV show called Scared Straight, where they basically like take kids that are like in gangs or committing crimes, like in juvenile hall, that type of thing, and they take them to prison, you know, and they talk to a bunch of like hardened criminals, and they're like, "Oh, you think jail's cool? Well, jail actually isn't cool," and blah 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 blah, and like a bunch of like big gangsters like basically telling them how much jail sucks, and like they just try to scare the kids into not wanting to commit crimes. It's like a very popular TV show. Anyway, I just wanted to like, I don't know, take like a bunch of like nursing and med students and take them to the ICU, the intensive care unit, where like people are like paralyzed, intubated, getting a million different medications at once, like literally dying, you know, like their heart stopping pretty like consistently, and you know they come back and you have to do the chest compressions, all that, you know, like very very dire people in like dire straits, and we just want to take them to the ICU and basically do the same thing, just like yell at them and just be like, oh, you think medicine's cool? Well, you actually have to see people die. And then if any of them like make a TikTok of them like crying in the hospital, then we just expel them from school immediately. You know, that's how we weed out these people, these TikTokers from healthcare. You know, we make our own version of Scared Straight. You know, and we make sure like this genre of TikTok stops. We have to stop this at all costs. You know, this is like by far like the corniest. It's like the corniest thing ever. I don't know. I just don't get it. It's like you're trying to, I don't know, you know, have their cake and eat it too. Like, be like so sad about like, oh, this job's so traumatizing and blah, blah, blah. And like, so brave about, like, of course, like you're allowed to have these feelings, but you also have to get back to work. Like, you know, like you don't have to do this if it's like so bad. You know, you want to complain about it, or like, do you want to be a doctor? You know, it's just, I don't know. It's just fun to make fun of some people, you know, call them soft. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry if I sound like a monster, you know, like talking about not caring about the patients. It's not that you don't care about the patients. It's that, you know, your patient dies and you still have other patients to take care of. You know, it's, you know, you can take like a moment of silence and then you get back to work. And you certainly do not make TikToks about it. You know, that's literally being selfish. Taking somebody else's trauma and making it your own. Anyway, yeah, pain is a very isolating feeling. Whenever you're in pain, like other people can say like, oh, like I get it and stuff like that, and like try to empathize with it, but you're really alone with the pain. You know, people have like chronic pain disorders. You know, it is your own. You know, like even if there are other people who have like the same condition as you or like also are in pain too, like you're still alone in it. Like nobody else can actually like feel that physical pain with you. And like there's only like so far your empathy can take you. So I don't know. It's just like it brings up a whole conversation about empathy and if it even is real. Like you can try as hard as you can to like empathize with other people's situations and put yourself in their shoes, but you really can't. Like you can't actually experience what someone else is experiencing. Like you can try to, but you really can't. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Let's get rid of let's stop that TikTok trend. Healthcare workers like crying about the job. I get it, It's sad, but maybe you should not care so much. Okay. Well, if you want to cancel me, you can cancel me, but that's the correct, that's the correct advice. If you want to feel bad about it, go ahead. Go ahead and cry about it all night. But if you want to have a long career and not be an alcoholic, well, that's the advice. All right, bye.